All right, and we are back. Welcome into a very special episode of Chasing 1969, a New York Jets podcast. We have an AFC East preview pod coming your way with the Dr. Locks group chat, bringing in some Bills representatives, some Patriots representatives. Obviously, we're going to talk Jets and Dolphins as well, too. Before we welcome everybody in, make sure to follow us on Twitter at NYJ_Chasing69, same as the YouTube channel. Teddy is at Teddy Huncho. I am at Spring Blake with 4 A's in that bitch. Teddy, before we get to Scott and Mike, how are you doing? We missed last week because I got a procedure done and I was a little fatigued. But how are you? How have you been? It's been a bit.
I'm doing good. I'm glad your procedure went well and that you're healthy and safe, But yeah, I don't even really have anything to say because I'm stoked that our boys are here. I'm stoked that Mike and Scott are here. Scott's got the crazy background going to rival my sick background of the Jets. And yeah, this is the only episode we ever had a guest was last year's AFC East preview. So here we are a year later having our boys on, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah,
Hello,
the
boys.
second annual AFC East preview. Yeah, Scott, Mike, welcome in. Mike, resident Bills fan. Scott, resident Patriots fan. I'm gonna, I guess, assume the position for the second year in a row as a Dolphins guy, which is hilarious because I absolutely hate their quarterback and everything about them. But we'll get into all of that. Basically, gonna do a huge rundown, preview each team in the division, talk strengths, weaknesses, storylines. Move along through and finish up with some standings, record predictions, any final thoughts, and we'll go from there. Everything sound good, boys? You ready to get rolling?
Oh, yeah.
Ready to roll.
All right. Ready to roll. Let's kick things off with, we were all joking, the most boring team in the AFC East at the moment. And that's the New England Patriots. They finished the season 8-9 last year. Crazy season, and I wish I should have listened to this last year's podcast before we recorded this one, because I definitely remember us starting things off with like Matt Patricia is the offensive coordinator. Like, let's see how this goes for the team, and it didn't go well. The offense stunk. The defense was good as always, and still though it didn't do too much. So we're taking a look through. They've made some additions to the offense. Bring in Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator. Bring him back in fold from Alabama. One of the better offensive coordinator gets that you could find this past offseason. You add a few wide receivers to the mix. You bring in Ezekiel Elliott as a backup to Ramondre or as an offset there. So Scott, to start off with you, when you take a look at this offense and you take a look at the additions made, everything sounds better on paper than last year. Where is your trust level? Where are your expectations for Mac Jones? Take me through this whole offensive outlook for 2023.
So I was just making a new Google Doc today, just doing a little bit, and I saw the one from last year, and I put in here in the additions, Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, and then in parentheses, I put it's subtraction by addition. Like from the beginning, that there was just no way that was ever going to work. So already feeling way better about the potential of this season. I mean, juggernaut of it. I mean, it might be the best division in football. You can argue the NFC East or the 49ers, Rams, if they're all right, but like you said, you got to figure top 4 division in all of football. So
just
it's going to be
jump
tough.
in quick, Scotty boy, on that. I totally agree. Like it's something I just totally forget about with the Patriots, but the fact that they just didn't have an offensive coordinator and this year they do is it's like an invaluable thing. It's just hilarious to be like, wow, they really thought that like these 2 defensive guys and like only like 3 really like big coaches on the staff will just like get this done. Clearly it didn't work out. So yeah, definitely just funny. I just wanted to throw that in there, but
yeah, it's crazy.
Even me, I'm more in on Mac Jones this year than I ever have been because they at least have an offense coordinator who can coach him up a little bit.
An former Alabama Nick Saban associate.
Classic.
Bill O'Brien
Alabama.
Yeah. So I mean, you just think why? Like for the last year I've been saying it's year 2 Mac Jones because last year truly doesn't count. You have a rookie that showed, okay, he looks like he can at least be semi-competent. Second year, let's take the strides, and you give him Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, like just so shitty of a situation. But so year 2 Mac is what I'm calling it. If he doesn't do it this year, then it kind of we'll have to reassess. But I don't think there's any reason to not at least have somewhat some hope in the situation.
That sounds real quick to interject. That sounds a lot like us last year with Zach Wilson, but we'll continue on. Keep going.
Were you?
Well, that's
year two,
that's a
Zach
little
Wilson.
different.
We're holding out hope. We'd figure
Yeah.
it out.
The Patriots they cut Bailey Zappi and quarterback
Malik
wide receiver
Cunningham.
Malik Cunningham. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw that Mac Jones was the only QB in the room, at least for some time.
Yes, they're both are back on the practice squad, and they'll both
okay.
probably
Right,
be elevated by week one.
Apologies for not knowing that.
Yeah.
They got cut one after the other.
Weird move.
They must have known that they weren't going to pick him up on waivers. Not a single Patriots player that got cut goes picked up on waivers, and they didn't pick anyone up on waivers. So like,
yeah,
they must have known or had a feeling or not worried if they.
I
don't know. I'm surprised. I'm shocked that he didn't like. I mean, imagine him in a Shanahan offense. I guess we're kind of going off topic, but like, he seems like he would fit that.
People
like,
really bought into him last year. So
his last name is sick.
Do you think they bring someone else in?
Quarterback wise, like backup? Outside of Tom Brady, no.
Is anyone available even that would be better? I mean, Bailey Zappi is nothing to write home about, but he at least like has played football.
Yeah, not better, but I mean, take a shot on. I don't know.
Matt Castle, Brian Hoyer.
There might be some guys out there. Colt McCoy's out there.
True.
They cut Trace McSorley. That's kind of a bummer.
Would love to see him fling the rock. TV room.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. For the offense wise, I mean, I was saying this in our group chat the other day. It's like all these fan bases are so amped about their wide receivers, like Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Diggs, even Ganassid from the Bills, and then Patriots Twitter were like, who's looking good this year? Kendrick Bourne, breakout season, loading. So that's kind of a bummer with Juju, and we got Gesicki, which is like cool, I guess, and then Zeke, who is an upgrade from Damian Harris, so he's not like a game changer, but it's at least having that kind of two-headed monster is pretty sweet. So that's the offense additions. I don't know if we want to talk about the offense more, or I kind of go right into the defensive type of tidbits I have.
I trust the defense. I feel like, from an outside perspective.
I like
a lot of the questions. The defense is the one question I have for you is, now we've talked about Mac Jones already. How many games in? Because we've talked about the additions, the upgraded offensive coordinator. Like you said, a slight upgrade to the running back room. You bring in Juju, you bring in Gesicki, you get rid of the tight end that wasn't working and Jonnu, and you kind of starting fresh this year. How many games in until you're like, this is like, say it's not going well, and maybe it's not the receivers, but Mac is having bad performances. How long of a leash will you give him to start off this season?
If the second options are Malik Cunningham or Bailey Zappi, it's like he's just got to go the full season because he's obviously better. Like it's not like, I mean, if we sign Trey Lance, it might be a little bit of a different answer. But I mean, I'm hoping Malik Cunningham gets some gimmick plays, like throw in I mean, it's basically you could run the Wildcat with the threat to pass and run. I don't know. There's a reason he's on the team. Like, do something with him. I don't know, but I hope it doesn't get to that point. But I mean, if they're 1-6, it would be sad the way the schedule starts out. But if they're 1-6 and Mac looks terrible, I mean, is Bailey Zappi going to give him the best chance to win, or do you just say let's ride Mac, try to pull him out to save trade value? Like,
I think you got to see what's there.
I'd go with the young guys. Then if it's not great, I mean, look, we're still, Bill is never a guy that's going to just throw in the towel, but you're sitting there with a very promising draft class at the quarterback position next year. Can you imagine Caleb Williams? Things go poor for Mac. Caleb Williams is all of a sudden a New England Patriot, and he's sitting there with the likes of Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and everybody's just like, oh, fuck, here we go again. Great quarterback going to the New England.
You left one quarterback out in that division.
Oh, he won't be there in 2024.
Yeah, that would be a real sad situation if Caleb Williams is on the Patriots and it's
to throw my 2 cents in there. I really do think that like the Patriots, I personally like I think that all the other teams in the division should be better than the Patriots, and they don't have as much offensive talent, but it's like, regardless, Scott has always said my whole life, since I've known him the past 8 years or whatever, he's like, they just find a way every year. And, despite the struggles in some of these post-Brady years. A few of them they have still managed to find a way. I mean, even last year, I think you said they were 8-9. So to me, the Mac Jones conversation, it's like, sure, he might not look great and they might not have a great season, but I also don't really see, like, I don't see this being as a team that doesn't get, 6-7 wins at least. I think they have. I also don't think I can see them winning more than 8 or 9, but I do think, regardless of kind of talent, whatever, and maybe this is the Jets fan in me that's seen them lose 14 times in a row. They're at least going to be like competitive, even if they're not, let's say they do finish last in this division and the talent on these other teams really does win. I still don't see a world where the Patriots are 1-15 and drafting and Mac Jones is like, oh, should we bench him? I mean, potentially if he really is bad, but I would think he can at least, keep him afloat enough that they would say, hey, he's better than Zappy. Let's live and we'll figure it out this offseason.
I mean, I do think they're going to steal a game or two from one of either the Bills,
I'm with that.
The Jets or Finns, and honestly, that's what it might come down to. Like, the three powerhouses in the division might split.
Who loses to the Patriots?
And then who's gonna lose to the Patriots? Who's gonna be the one to get that stolen?
Yeah, the reason they'll be in the games is going to be because of their defense.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
so
it's incredible. They're
ugly.
Over the last
so
2
good.
decades, it's the great pass rush, good corners, solid linebacker play. We know the big names. You still got Judon back there. You've got great cornerbacks. Yeah. Who are some of the names that I guess this year as we head into? They used a first-round pick on Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. Take me through, like, who are the names that we should be kind of worried about over here, defensively for New England?
It's kind of similar as last year, like Adrian Phillips, Kyle Duggar. Like Kyle Duggar is just that safety that comes up and like he reminds me of Jamal Adams, like when he was, I don't want to say in his prime, but like
you're
when
not
he was
scaring the Jets fans just because of the hate they have, but I do see what you mean.
His style of play, I mean, he can cover better.
Yeah,
and he doesn't fill the run as much, but I mean, he'll still come up and lay out the running back after a 3-yard gain from the safety position. Adrian Phillips can fill all the holes. I mean, Jets fans, this one will hurt. Marcus Jones, he's the one that returned that punt for a touchdown when the Patriots won 7-0. He had a 10-3. He had a pick six. He had a punt return, and he had a wide receiver screen to the house. Like just a classic dude that Bill Belichick will gimmick around. And then I mean Jack Jones, he's also there. He's got the legal situation. He's the one that brought the gun to the airport, which the NFL does such a good job of just not releasing anything. Yeah, but like you haven't heard anything from it. Like you probably won't hear anything from it. Like you'll probably just die. That's the NFL rules of that. And then
has he gotten
Sean
suspended
Wade,
or anything, or has it just been completely brushed under the rug?
It's you can't talk about an ongoing case. Like one of those situations that he might like get suspended one game and on like week 9. And I'll be like,
it's wild.
Whatever. Yeah. And then Sean Wade is just the last guy. That's just from the D-backs. He's another one of those nickel corners or can play the slot, double over the top. Like he'll help out a lot with Diggs. And then I mean Lawrence Guy, Dietrich Wise, and then Godchuk, the guy from Jacksonville. That dude's nasty. Linebacker D end. Yeah, you'll just hear all those random names and say where did they come from? Right. But they've been a beast for the last 3 years.
They find them. Now, I guess is like a final overall question for you, because this is a team that obviously you've enjoyed success for decades now, basically your entire life. And the last few years have kind of been letdowns. You go back to the Cam seasons and then the transition over to Mac. It hasn't been what everybody was accustomed to with the AFC title games, the Super Bowls, always being a team that is feared by the entire league. The AFC is very competitive, and it's a quarterback league, and there are a handful, upwards of 8 to 10 quarterbacks that I would take over Mac Jones at this point. For you, what is a successful season? What would you need to see this year to be like, we're headed in the right direction, or, I'm avoiding disappointment, I guess, in New England?
It's hard because it's more dependent on what the teams in the division do. Like if the Patriots go 8-9, I'd say, well, that was a real shitty season. But if the best team in that division has 11 wins, it's kind of like the Patriots finished 3 wins behind potentially a top 3 seed in the AFC. It wouldn't be as much of a disappointment. So it's kind of hard to put an exact metric on it. I mean, basically, I mean, I threw a bet on the Patriots to win the Super Bowl because
That's
you
it.
have to. But like, it's not like I expect the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. I don't expect them to make the AFC championship game. But like, if they don't make the playoffs and Mac doesn't look good, that would be a clear disappointing season. Really,
Yeah,
the only thing I have, I'll just leave it with this with the Patriots. Bill Belichick's just always one step ahead. Like him, Andy Reid, seems like they always have that one step where he was at like the defense was so good for so long. Now with all of these rules, what's going to change now? He's been running. I mean, Damian Harris and Ramondre. Is it going to go back to a running type of league? Like I don't know. Bill Belichick just seems to always know kind of what's going on. So I'm just putting blind
this
confidence in Bill Belichick.
this is a take that has worked for you time and time again.
Yeah.
But this should be the year that all falls apart for you.
Yep.
I have two questions before we move off the Patriots. My second, I will definitely address what you just said, but my first, Mac Jones, like, where is your kind of like your current stance on Mac Jones? Like, are you thinking about, next year and maybe it's not him, that's the plan? Or in your head, is it kind of just be like, he's at least going to be good enough, he's going to play another year? I'm not really, I'm not exactly aware of where is at in his contract. But like, where do you stand with that? Like, are you kind of bracing for a new quarterback? Do you hope for a new quarterback to kind of build the ceiling of this team, or are you kind of just like expecting Mac to be here for more than just this season?
I'm expecting him to be here for more of the season just because it's the Patriot way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like, I mean, are they going to
I gotta
sign a
spin off.
big name quarterback?
I got to spin off of that question. So what? This is his third year on the contract, right?
Yeah. So
Year two,
first
Mac,
round
though.
pick. Okay. So
Right.
what? No. Hear me out. So after this year, they need to make a
Decide.
decision on his franchise tag. So what does he need to do for you to say yes, we're going to accept a fifth year?
The 5th-year option. Yep. Yeah.
Like what
He
would you, in your opinion, what would you have to do?
it's going to be an eye test. Like the numbers, I mean, the Dolphins have a good defense. The Bills have a good defense. The Jets have a great defense. I'm not expecting him. I mean, they play the Eagles week one. I expect him to go out for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. Like, God, no. Like, that would be sick. But it's going to be basically, does he look good? Is he going through the progressions? Is he putting the balls in like, he had a lot of passes last year where they were good balls, but he's throwing to not great wide receivers that, no, you're not going to have the Stephon Diggs, the Garrett Wilson, those to help you out and be like, make a play for your quarterback. So it's going to be how he looks. I mean, if he looks good and the Patriots aren't great, it's going to be a weird predicament. But if he looks good and the Patriots do well, no reason not to throw the franchise tag on him. I mean, unless there's a quarterback that they like in the draft, I don't think there's going to be any free agent quarterbacks out there. Patriots aren't going to trade for a quarterback. So they're kind
If
of
I had to
stuck
put
in
my
a hard
money
spot.
on it, I would think he plays next season as a Patriot, but they decline the 5th-year option, if I had to guess.
Yeah, that would make the most sense, but I hope they pick it up because
I could see him taking it.
that would mean he's
Right.
he's
That would
doing
mean it
well.
was a good season for him this year.
Is all first round quarterbacks get the 5th year?
All first round picks. Yeah.
All first round picks.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What was your second question, Ted?
Well, yeah, I just want to tie this back to the Jets. Obviously this is a Jets podcast. I'm sure that all of it's just crazy being a Jets fan, to be honest with you. Last year was such an exciting year, but we weren't able to put the quarterback position, together. And even though we felt like we had a good team, we still did not beat the Patriots. And we have lost 14 games in a row to the Patriots. We've not won since December of 2015. That really sucks for sure. And I guess I just want to wrap us up here on the Patriots, I just want to check in with you. Like, this whole offseason has been, 100% from my perspective, I assume for everyone, like, overloaded with the Jets. The talking heads are coming out with, Aaron Rodgers for MVP. The Jets are going to win the Super Bowl. Like, all these different takes, which, some are deserved, some is people buying into the hype, whatever. you got the Bills, who have been this dominant force in the league for 3-4 years now, and don't seem to be going anywhere. And you got the Dolphins, who were able to be this like prolific offense when they had their starting quarterback last year. It obviously was kind of up and down with injuries, but people are also pretty hyped about the Dolphins. So you're kind of just sitting here as the Patriots fan, as the, team that has ran things for 20 years. And now it's got to just feel like, hey, like everyone is just completely disregarding us, completely ignoring us. Like, how does that make you feel? Do you feel slighted? Do you kind of get it? And you're kind of just like, hopefully we prove them wrong. Like, where is your headspace with this whole offseason that's been about every team in the division but yours, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Bills kind of are dead. So
yeah,
I can't wait to talk about them.
That's an inside joke, but
they they've having the same hype for the last 3 years. So now it's kind of like I'm immune to that.
Yeah,
the Dolphins, their quarterback is one hit away from eating through a straw the rest of his life. Don't really like concern myself with the Dolphins talk.
Respectfully.
And the Jets have a drug addict quarterback who's 38, 39 years old, who they might be good for a year or two, and then they're going to go back to being the Jets. I don't really get too worked up about it. The Patriots.
You skipped over that they might be good for a year or two part. That would be a big deal. I would take that. I would take that.
That's fair. I mean, the Bills are going to be good for a little while. Like, you got to accept that it's not the Patriots of the old. But like, I mean, you look at 2014, 15, 16, 17. Remember when Feets had that rant? Like, everyone counted the Patriots out. Every single news outlet for multiple weeks throughout like a 4-year span, they're falling off the cliff. Like, so like them getting
who was the quarterback those years for them?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's not obviously not the same, but it's not like this is like, wow, the Patriots are they're not getting talked about, or like they're getting shit talked about. Like,
yeah,
it's the Patriots, but like, again, wrap it up with it's Bill Belichick. And also I saw a thing today that they said inside sources that this is Belichick's last year. And that just every year there's one of those stories. It's the stupid Mike Florio, I think it was Chris Sims actually.
That's good. Former Jet. Or no, that might have been his brother.
That was his brother. That was Matt.
Yeah. But again, until Belichick's gone, I'm going to die on the hill of Team Belichick and trust him 100% unless he signs another defensive coordinator as their OC.
Okay. That's fair. All right. I'm done talking about them. They're as dead as we want to joke about. Let's go on to the Bills. The talk of the AFC East the last few years. Division winners for a few years in a row now. Obviously by the trajectory that Josh Allen has gone on into being one of the top quarterbacks in all of football. Well-coached team. Although it was we'll get into the end of last season as well too in that Cincinnati playoff game. There's so many storylines with the Buffalo Bills, but Mike, to then bring you on, I want to give you 10, 15 minutes to just talk about how important it is that Damar Hamlin made the 53-man roster.
I'm so happy you started with this tonight.
I hate that we started with
No. For the record, we are. This is actually, I was going to bring this up today to you, Teddy. I want to come out as like the first anti-Damar Hamlin podcast. I want us to embrace that role. We have joked in our group chat for a while now just about like, look, and it is a good story. It's a great story, but we are being face fucked with that story for the last 8-9 months now, and we will this entire season. So it's a joke that we just can't stop talking about Damar Hamlin. So I did want to open up the entire show talking about Damar Hamlin, but then also us not talk about it at all because I don't.
He was cloned.
Thanks for.
Do you have a Damar Hamlin take, Mike? Like,
please tell me you don't.
Do you care at all?
No, I think people who saying he was going to get cut, I think that's ridiculous. I mean, he's a solid player.
Yeah, he didn't get cut last year. I think that was an easy narrative.
But like I was, someone was telling me last night I was in a different fantasy draft, and they were telling me that the only reason he's on the team is because of this whole story. He would have got cut. He would have been playing, in the XFL. So that's
right.
That's just not true. Like, he was on the team before.
Yeah.
He was a starter all year after, Poyer went down. But yeah, that's enough of that's enough.
One thing left on that, and then I'll be done. If you really want to go DeMar Hamlin just cook up a mixtape of him getting burnt and just posted it
Dude,
on
so I've been thinking about
Twitter.
doing this. I want to do it all season. Great play
It
by
would be
DeMar Hamlin.
That
And
would
then
be
he
so
whiffs
funny.
on a tackle.
That would be
I
funny.
want to go. I want to go
Looks
very
like-
anti DeMar
He
Hamlin
did, he did the
podcast.
same thing
There's a lot of
to,
jokes you can make.
I mean, he had a hit on one of the Patriots receivers when they played last year that made him go into the
Really?
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh shit.
That's a red flag if
Yeah,
Patriots
that was
receivers making
sketchy.
that.
Happy he's alive for sure, but I'm
Sure.
over it. You don't have to keep talking about him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
NFL, I'm talking to.
I
Moving
just-
on.
Yeah, I needed to
Not
start
you
there.
guys.
So I think the there's two big takeaways, at least in my opinion, from the Bills last season. The biggest one is the way that the season ended. You know, Cincinnati came in and really just like pummeled you guys, start to finish. And it was one of those like, holy shit, how did, you know, these two teams, it was a really hyped up matchup, two great quarterbacks, and Cincinnati came in and was just like, no, we're the better team. We're just going to beat you, hit you in the mouth. And they moved on. It's been a couple years now where there has been that hype train, like Scott has been saying. You know, it's one thing where the Patriots were the hype train and they brought away all these Super Bowls, but you know, the Bills have struggled to get to a Super Bowl in the last 2 years now, have lost in the divisional round. So, you know, when you take a look at and the NFL, and that's where it's so easy to overreact, is because the NFL is so hard to maintain consistency. And that's where we look at the Patriots. It's just like, what the fuck? How did they do this? But for the Bills now, when you take a look at the last few seasons, and especially that final kind of taste in your mouth after the Cincinnati game, where do you stand on, you know, what you think might have been the missing pieces last year? What was missing? You know, not emotionally, you know, people really talk about the emotional factor of the DeMar Hamlin situation, which obviously is a big storyline, but just what do you think ended up going wrong for the Bills last season?
I think it was a combination of all those things. Like, definitely the DeMar Hamlin thing. Definitely, you know, they moved stadiums like 3 times because of weather or whatnot. They were the preseason favorites. Everyone pretty much handed them the Super Bowl. Kind of what's happening with the Jets this year, you know, before the season even starts. And it's so hard in any sport to, you know, place in the front. You know, it's so much easier to be chasing someone. That's why I almost feel better this year. No one's talking about them. You guys are calling them dead. You know, they're not really getting a lot of attention in the media other than, you know, crapping on them for having a bad preseason game or, you know, missing on a pick here or there. So I almost feel more like confident in, because like everyone's talking their crap, talking their shit, and Josh Allen's just probably sitting in his room licking his lips, just waiting to get out there and
licking Haley Steinfeld's lips too.
That too, yeah.
Love Haley Steinfeld. Mike, I definitely think that's fair, and I to explain the Bills is dead thing. I feel like that started, and I feel like it's what a lot of fans feel is like the Bills were, you know, in the same place as the Jets for a long time, just kind of bottom of the league team, whatever. Then, you know, they get Josh, or I think they made the playoffs before they got Josh Allen, or was it his rookie year? But
no, it was the year before.
So they make the playoffs one year. They get a rookie quarterback. They've just been continuously on this train, like up and up. And for a long time, for like 2-3 years, it really did feel like they were like the underdog that's taking the league by storm, you know. And then last year was that year where,
yes, Lester should have been like the climax, like
right,
the hero's arc, like that was it. Like everyone set it up for that. And then the Mar thing happened, and it was like, oh my God, like they're gonna overcome this adversity. And then you know, it just wasn't enough. And obviously, like I'm not blaming all that because they also got their asses beat in that game. They weren't prepared at all, and I think, you know, injuries got to them. Josh wasn't. I think Josh's elbow probably had a lot more to do with things than.
Totally agree.
They don't talk about that as much as I think they should.
No,
like that,
actually,
like he could have needed Tommy John. Like, pretty sure he tore his UCL, right?
I think 2 weeks ago he partially tore it. I think 2 weeks ago he had to take a practice off to massage it because it was sore or whatever. Which you know, made me nervous. No one talked about it. It was just like on the radio or, you know, just like a Bills reporter tweeted it. But yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it because their offense just broke after that. I mean, after that Jets loss, like I think everything. It was like that time everything kind of went to crap.
Yeah, and you know, they still did finish with 13 wins. And I, you know, based on what I remember, obviously the Chiefs and the Bengals were also very, very good in the regular season last year. But last year did kind of feel like the Bills were just like very, very good the whole year, you know, and then it didn't work out in the playoff game. But the way I kind of view those teams, Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, the past few years, you know, and hopefully the Jets can break into that, has been, you know, like you put any of those teams on the field any week and you don't really know what's going to happen. Like someone's going to win the game. Obviously, they got blown out, but my kind of fear with the Bills is I think that we have fatigue of like, oh, the Bills are going to be really good. The Bills are going to be really good. And now, you know, the Dolphins are on the come up after getting Tyreek, and the Jets have all this news. And I think it's really easy to just say like, oh, the Bills haven't really done much. They haven't added talent the way these other teams have. But I guess just to like put on my Bills defending pants quick, how old's Josh Allen, right? Like 25, 26.
27.
Oh, yeah.
27. Like how many quarterbacks win their first Super Bowl at 29, at 30, you know, at 30, like how many quarterbacks go through their peak, you know, when they're older. So I feel like it's so easy to be like, oh, we've been hyping this team up so 4 years in a row. Like, how have they not done it yet? And sure, there's going to be ebbs and flows, but like, do I think the Bills are going anywhere? No, you know, and I look at the Jets roster often and I sit there and I say to myself, like, how is this not the best roster in the league? But I think like then you sit there and you look at the Bills roster and it's the same, you know, and even like the Patriots defense, you know, I won't say the offense talent, but the Patriots defense, it's like all of these teams and, you know, the Bills as a whole, I really do have a lot of confidence in just like how good they are and how talented they are. So I think I'm hoping they fall off, and that's why I say they're dead. But I'm definitely kind of with you that this is easily the team to beat, and you know the quarterback to beat in Josh Allen.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you know, in the next 2 years, like you definitely want to hit on some draft picks because I think that's some of the biggest concerns right now is, you know, being missed on a few of these. They've been chasing after this defensive end position. They've been chasing after this pass catching running back position, and they've dumped a lot of capital in that what could have been gone to, you know, offensive line.
Offensive line,
huge
definitely.
issue right now. I mean, if you're looking at two positions right now that I'm gonna, you know, be really concerned about is, you know, right tackle and middle linebacker. We let Trey go, and you know there seemed to be a lot of confidence what we had in house, and it just has not panned out the way that they thought it was going to.
Yeah, thinking about the offense as a whole, there was a concern at one point in the season. When you look at the numbers, there really wasn't much change at all between Josh's performance, you know, in his 2021 season to 2022. Obviously, the injury messed things up. He missed, I think there was one fewer game that he did, but regardless, the team's offensive numbers were not that far off in terms of league ranks. But there was this concern, you know, Dable, every stop he's gone to, when he moves on to the next, you know, whatever it was, Alabama, Buffalo, now in, you know, the head coach in New York, there was always like this little bit of a setback. You saw what he did in New York with Daniel Jones and literally no wide receivers.
1 year.
Yeah. And you see not necessarily a step back, but you see like, oh, we have more glaring concerns maybe about the depth of the wide receiver room. You know, maybe that stuff is what you sort of miss out on a little bit. The offensive line doesn't play up to the same standard because all of those things as far as play calling goes, when you have a top play caller in the league, life is easier for just about every player on that field. So when you look at year 2 for Ken Dorsey in there, and we remember him mostly from that, you know, crazy freak out in the booth at the end of that. Was it Carolina game? It was
the Dolphins game.
Dolphins.
Yeah, it's like 100.
I forgot about that.
Oh, dude, he freaked out.
That was the best.
There were so many players who got hurt that game. I think there's like 3 ACLs, and he just
so now
some emotion, brother.
Yeah, exactly. So now when you look into year 2 with him, do you feel comfortable with him as the offensive coordinator, with the relationship between him and Josh? And do you feel comfortable about maybe, you know, they bring in Kincaid, first round tight end. You still got Gabe Davis there. Diggs is obviously a you know, one of the best in the game. James Cook, hopefully there's a lot of expectations there. How do you feel offensively about the pieces around Josh this year in relation also to like trusting Ken Dorsey to keep things going here for this offense?
Starting with the pieces, I think the pieces are better. Obviously, I think Kincaid's going to have a huge role. Just from what I'm hearing about, you know, camp and stuff, like I think they're calling him Big Cole Beasley. So he's going to be the slot guy that's just going to run.
That's a sick nickname.
And turn around, you know.
Anti-shot.
Swole Beasley. You know, so, and I think Hardy's going to be a good asset too, and I think James Cook is going to be their running back 1. I think he's going to, I think they're going to do a slot receiver by committee. You have Diggs and Gabe out wide. I don't love Gabe Davis, but they're stocking up last year on his ankle injury, why he dropped balls. But I guess we'll see what happens this year.
Shakur season.
Yeah, not about that.
Yeah, then it's what? Shakir, Hardy, and one other guy, right?
Those
Trent
solid
Sherfield,
musicians.
right?
Sherfield, yeah. I think Sherfield's going to be good, but I mean, I don't know. As long as Diggs and Allen are out there, I feel
Trent Sherfield.
Yeah.
Damn.
Dude,
This AFC East receivers, they love to rotate through division. I mean, you look at the Patriots and Dolphins; they have a billion. Now, I mean, Trent Sherfield on the Bills, that's crazy.
Braxton Berrios down in Miami. It's all over the place now. It really is.
Thing. I think Isaiah Ford played on the Patriots and Dolphins 3 times, 3 separate stints with each team.
I love it.
Yeah, that actually is nuts. Scott,
now
that you jumped in here, do you have, like any like crazy opinions about the Bills, or are you kind of with me that they're just kind of like they're going to be pretty good? Hopefully they fall off. What up, Mike?
I'm more with.
They were dead about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's just speaking it into existence.
Exactly. That's where I'm at. I'm just hoping that they get worse.
I'm more with Mike in terms of like this is the best chance they've had in the last 3 years because it's finally expectations are tempered. You finally have the Jets that come in here. The whole Aaron Rodgers saga that took a month and a half to develop. If it took a week to develop, I don't think it would have gotten as much hype. There was so much anticipation, so much buildup that it just led to it just kind of burst through the ceiling of, okay, now it's like the Jets division. I think this is the best time that the Bills would have in terms of like expectations, in terms of the team. I mean, obviously Josh Allen now is going to be better than Josh Allen 3 years ago. He's one of the top 5, easily top 3. You can make an argument quarterback in the NFL. The only really thing I wanted to say was it stinks because I hate to make the Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes comparison, but like look at the Tom Brady through the early odds and the teens. Peyton Manning got his. Ben Roethlisberger got his. Like they all got one. I mean, Peyton Manning obviously had 2, but like,
don't you dare.
Is Patrick Mahomes?
I thought you were about to slander that second Super Bowl.
I was thinking about it. We're gonna move on. But it's like, is Josh Allen due to get through the Patrick Mahomes? That's kind of the Tom Brady that dominated the NFL for 2 decades straight of all these phenomenal quarterbacks, all-time greats that just don't even get mentioned because they had to go through Tom Brady and the Patriots. Like, I don't know. Is this the one that Josh Allen gets, or does he kind of break out of that mold? And I don't know. It's just really cool that the AFC has so many phenomenal quarterbacks that it's any year you can make a case for any team. It's just so cool.
That's the biggest problem is you're going to have in like 5 or 6 years, we're going to be saying that about so many great quarterbacks in the league about like, man, how come they haven't gotten theirs? Whether it's still Allen or Lamar or Herbert or Lawrence at some point.
Herbert to get a win.
Chill.
Herbert to win more than 9 games.
So it's just it's so tough because the quarterback position is as rich as it's ever been, and there's so many, like you said, especially in that conference. When you've also got that top dog that's Mahomes, who's gonna keep getting his because nothing's changing with him there. Like, yeah, there might be a year where he's the 2nd best quarterback in the NFL or 3rd, but like he's always gonna be that guy that either already has the resume and is still pushing forward to add to it. So there's going to be a lot of guys where you're staring there and you're just like, man, how has Josh Allen not gone to a Super Bowl? He's sitting at 31, 32. And you're just like, are we wasting this? But it's like, no, you're in the toughest conference I can remember ever growing up. And I'm sure it goes a lot longer before, when we were all born. So it's a crazy time.
Matching up with like Mahomes or Burrow or Lamar and the Ravens you're not even in the championships. You're not even in the championship. You're in the division round still.
Right.
Like you shouldn't have to play Burrow or Mahomes to make it to the championship, AFC championship. Like that's crazy
though how quickly things change. Because like last year for the Bills, the biggest concern was like 1 seed, Chiefs, 1 seed, Chiefs, 1 seed, Chiefs, 1. That's all anyone talked about. Yeah. Now this year it's like I just want to make the playoffs. Like you got to get out of this division. Like you can't talk about the Chiefs, you can't talk about the Bengals until you make the playoffs. Like these teams are going to beat the crap out of each other.
What's a big Bills storyline that we're missing out of before we move on? Like we've talked about the players that we all really know. We've talked about the defense. We know Vaughn is going to miss a few games. The offensive line is hopefully going to be decent. We know the secondary's got a lot of guys and they've invested a lot in that position. There's just one story, and maybe it's Kincaid, so maybe we've already talked about it, but like what is something that, could be that catalyst for the Bills this year to really take them over that edge that we're not expecting?
Or at least
One
unexpected.
thing I think would be having McDermott call the plays on defense. He's a much different style than Frazier, so I just think they're going to be a little more aggressive. A lot of times, like last year, I think there was one NFL analyst or reporter who talked about this, where a lot of this Frazier defense, they played not to lose. They give you 10 yards, 15 yards. There you go.
For those watching, for those maybe watching on the YouTube, Scott has been changing his backgrounds around, and now he's got a DeMar Hamlin jersey back there. So
yeah, maybe one to watch on YouTube if you're listening.
That's why we're getting a good laugh in at the moment.
That's the storyline. I got you, Mike.
Yeah, I think, but then so I think his defense is going to be different, and also just going to be how he's going to handle that, because a lot of head coaches don't. I mean, they call plays on offense, which I think is a lot different than defense. So how is he going to be able to pay attention on offense while also calling the plays for his defense? Like, is he going to turn around talking to his guys or focusing on the play? Is that going to have any impact, on game management? I think that'd be one storyline that I think is being overlooked. I don't know.
Was he an offense or a defensive coach coming in?
Defense,
yeah.
That's what I thought. And
yeah,
okay, that is interesting.
Tough.
I didn't know that.
Tough having a defensive coach, because if you hire a good offensive coordinator, he's going to be a head coach next year. So
and then you have to worry about your defensive head coach hiring a defensive OC.
Yeah, I don't think.
Not often. You don't run into that too much.
I don't think it's a common issue.
Recency bias.
So actually, this will be my last question, because we're going to talk about the Dolphins next, finish up with the Jets, and do some final stuff. But when you look at the division this year, who scares you the most out of these three other teams?
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to go back on this one. I know I've been talking a lot of crap in our group chat about, being more scared of the Dolphins. But
I'm
looking at the schedule. No, not to put 180 on you, but I was putting together our record prediction today. I'm looking at the schedule, and it's just like I think the Jets will do better than the Dolphins, and I think that means that I have to be more scared of them.
Yeah,
I went through all those games, and I have the Bills sweeping the Dolphins. I think they just own the Dolphins, and it's hard to say that after what happened last year against
Skylar Thompson.
Beat us once with Zach Wilson. Like, you can't. I can't sit here and say that.
Yeah.
We're gonna sweep you after losing one game without.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that for sure. It makes me smile. For context, when Dalvin Cook signed with the Jets, one of Mike's takes was, I'm kind of happy it wasn't the Dolphins, because they would have gotten a lot better.
That take still stands. That take still stands. I think.
I understand what you mean, but I guess to me it was just very much like, well, if the Jets have a better running game than the one they would have had, that's also probably good for them. And I personally think the Jets are better than the Dolphins. So that's where.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, the Dolphins.
You kind of walking that back.
A lot of that is just my confidence in Aaron Rodgers over Tua. But I think the Dolphins have a stronger offense.
Yeah.
They have a stronger defense.
I don't know about that. I mean, I would put the Dolphins.
Go ahead.
Let's talk Finn.
I was just saying, I would say the Dolphins probably have the worst defense in the division. Maybe I'm off base there. But I think all four defenses are kind of just all really good.
Oh, great. Yeah.
And I'm jaded in thinking that I think the Jets have the best defense in the league. But yeah, I don't remember where I was going, but
let's talk Finns. Let's move on to them. Yeah. So, I think this isn't a crazy take. There are a lot of teams like this in the league, but obviously for the Dolphins season, it really does hinge on the play of their quarterback and the availability of their quarterback. Tua, after the scary season that he had last year, we know that the next, every time that we see him take a big hit, we're going to be worried if he's getting up, if he's going to be available for this season. It's not like they have the strongest room behind him. They didn't last year. It's Mike White now, former, Jet great. that's going to be in there, and you know,
RP.
in his stead, if Tua does have to miss any time. And to me, the Dolphins have so many things going great for them. They have probably a top 3 offensive play caller in the game as their head coach. They have some of the best. They have. Would you guys say it's the best duo of wide receivers in the leegue at this point? Right, the best
Tough to
duo.
Remember the Bengals.
against.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
see
the
where you're going.
Bengals, you could.
Yeah, but you know, their
Top
skill
three,
set,
top three.
their
You
skill set.
can't argue against it.
Right.
Yeah, they could be
exactly.
one.
Very
There's
hard.
nothing against them being one.
So they've got an elite duo there. They've got great defensive players, a strong secondary. Yes, Jalen Ramsey, you know, their big trade this offseason is going to miss significant amount of time this season. But good young guys that they've drafted as well too defensively. You know, Christian Wilkins, a guy that's, you know, trying to get paid real quick. Jalen Phillips, first round pick
paid, did
out
he?
of Miami. Not yet. They're still working on it. They ended up paying Raekwon. No, they paid somebody else. They paid one of their other defensive linemen.
It's someone else. Yeah, I don't know his name.
But you know, they bring in Bradley Chubb. They've got Javon Holland, who is a freak safety out of Oregon. It's a very good defense. And also, you know, as far as coordinator changes go, they also had one of the biggest upgrades defensively, bringing in and now his name is escaping me, the guy that was in Denver, head coach. Vic Fangio. So now he's DC for Miami as well too. And wherever he goes, the defense takes a step up. That's just been the name of the game for him. So a big addition to the defense. But to me, where I keep going with this Dolphins team is if you are a team that needs to protect a frail, small quarterback, you need to have one of the best offensive lines in football. And they just have a bottom third offensive line. And even their best player, Teron Armstead, you can count on him for about 75% of games over the last 3, 4, 5 seasons. So he's great when he's there, but he also gets banged up. And he's, you know, getting a little bit older. You know, they bring him in. He was the big offensive signing from New Orleans last offseason. And so outside of him, there's a lot of weak points. Austin Jackson out of USC was a middle round pick. Not that great. Liam Eichenberg, he was drafted to be a tackle out of Notre Dame. He's now playing left guard. He has really struggled. So, you know, when I look at the Dolphins, there's a lot to love. But if the most important thing is protecting your small, undersized, injury prone at this point quarterback, they have not done a good job of that this offseason. So I don't know who to bring this in and talk about, but like, you know, anybody have a thought? Because like we said, the schedule is tough if you're in the AFC. And then if you're in the AFC East, they have to play the Bills defensive line twice, the Patriots defensive line twice, and the Jets defensive line twice. I think we all feel pretty much the same about the Dolphins. It can go great if Tua's out there and healthy, but it could also just be a big mess. So if anybody wants to take this in some sort of direction, that is my kind of broad thought on Miami this season.
I mean, I think you could see that just they know that themselves because, you know, they're going after Dalvin Cook. They're trying to trade for Josh Jacobs. They're trying to trade for you know, Jonathan Taylor. Like they themselves are trying to insulate Tua by getting, you know, a strong run game. I know McDaniels is really good at, you know, calling run plays with his, you know, zone scheme. That's the main reason why I said earlier why I think Dalvin Cook would have been scary on the Dolphins, because if he would have got the touches.
It's a bigger boost to their running back room.
Yeah.
And it is to the Jets to get him. Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think the Dolphins are such an odd team because, like, you know, even after Tua's like when Tua was on the field last year, they looked awesome and they scored like 100 points and like had all these crazy games. But like, despite all that, you know, I still just like don't really have a ton of faith in Tua. And, you know, I feel like a lot of people agree. And I think, you know, the eye test, you know, a lot of times it is unfair. Like he does have decent deep balls and whatever. But I also think a lot of times he underthrows Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and they just make plays. So it's like this weird dynamic of like, I don't believe in Tua, but I didn't believe in Tua last year. And he was really good every time he touched the field. So maybe it's just like Mike McDaniels is that good.
It's one of those weird. I think he's always going to have that over his shoulder throughout his career. I mean, he could do well this year, not get hurt, and I think at the end of the year, people are still going to be saying, you know, he's a system quarterback. He just runs Mike McDaniel's system. Whereas you look at, you know, keeping in the division, Josh or Aaron, like they get the ball in the game. You're scared of them. You're not scared of Mike McDaniels. You're scared of Aaron Rodgers. You're scared of Josh to come down there and, you know, win the game. Whereas, you know, Dolphins had the ball final drive. I'm thinking that's more of a Mike McDaniels calling the plays than Tua winning the game.
Right.
I don't know if that's a wrong assumption to have, but that's just the way I feel when I'm watching those games. I don't know if
I
you
mean,
guys.
you can look at it at the last game that the Dolphins had last year, when it's either a slight to the Bills or a plus for Mike McDaniels and a slight for Tua. Skylar Thompson almost brought the Dolphins back to beat the Bills in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Those words coming out of my
Yeah,
mouth.
that is nuts.
Like, is it like maybe? I mean, you could see the Bills were kind of on the decline. Like, obviously on the. I can't even imagine. Slowly on the decline because you saw what happened the following week. So like maybe it's just like freak type of incident. Maybe they got a lead on the Dolphins, got complacent. Maybe it's just Mike McDaniels. Like, if Tua is in that game, do the Dolphins win? Do they even get behind in the game? Like, objectively, Tua is better than Skylar Thompson. But I mean, from what I've seen with Tua, sorry, just one more thing. Like AP, good. I mean, AP is a Tua stan, so I always see things that he sends, and like, I am kind of on Team Tua. Like, I mean, how many times have you seen that national championship throw? That was a 45-yard frozen rope. Like, that just doesn't leave your arsenal. You know what I mean? Like, he's shown he can do it.
Just the one throw?
Yeah,
that's all you need to see.
5 years ago.
It won them the national championship.
I have a new thing. Actually, it's been a thing, I think, ever since because I've been on the anti-Tua train forever. And he, like you said, I give him all the credit when he's on the field and he's got that offensive system, things went great. When he didn't have that offensive system, things were not great. College football, to me, still has a little bit to it of kind of like in the heyday of college basketball, where it was like, you're bringing in guys that are going to be best fit for you now. Now college basketball is like, let's get just a team full of guys that are going to be first round picks and we'll see if it works out. We're just going to get you to the pros. College football to me is still like, what is working best in college at the moment? And when you don't have, or when you have Alabama and you are bringing in the biggest offensive line every year, and that you're not, the quarterbacks are protected a little bit more in that, at that level of football. I think that, like, we talk about Tua. I look at it the same way with Bryce Young. They are unbelievably talented when it comes to their arm and their brain, but I don't know if bodies like that are going to be able to hold up in the NFL. So like, I'm anti-Tua. I'm kind of anti-Bryce just because I don't see how in this league things are going to be able to hold up like that when you've got 300-pound motherfuckers coming down every single week. It's not just when you play Georgia. It's going to be every single week. You've got the best of the best, the biggest guys coming to take you down. So, his talent is unquestionable. His arm talent is amazing. I don't know. I think we're going to hit a point where it's like, those quarterbacks are great for college football, but it doesn't necessarily translate to the pros anymore.
It's so easy for Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley, Mechie, all those dudes just to get wide open. And like, I mean, it is so different, but I mean, that throw was sick.
Yeah, it's just really hard for me still. I mean, it's like, I will not believe in Tua with the best of them, but like, you look at what happened last year and it did work out. So if the one thing you're going to point to is health, to me, that's kind of like, well, assuming he's healthy, then he's someone to worry about, which I don't really know where to land there. Jets Twitter has gotten to the point, or maybe not the point, but a very common thing on Jets Twitter, that they refer to Tua as Hawaiian Jared Goff, which I think is really good. I think that's a good one.
I love that. I'm so team Jared Goff too.
Yeah.
But like Jared Goff is bigger. Like, to me, it's not even like a health thing, because some guys can just be injury prone. But like, when you are that small and when Bryce Young is that small, like, it's not even an injury history. It's just like, you are not going to be able to take hits that well. Josh Allen can run over motherfuckers. Anthony Richardson can run over motherfuckers. If, even a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's now 38, I trust him to hold up over the course of a season more than I do Tua, just because he's got a taller, bigger frame. And I don't know. I think he has a ton of talent. If you put him in Justin Herbert's body, he's fucking, going to be one of the best quarterbacks year after year that we see in this league right now, with like a Lawrence, Burrow. Like, all these guys have the same thing in common. They're, 6'3", 6'4", 225, 230 pounds, because they can take the pain of a 17-game schedule and then move that into the postseason. So
can we just imagine for a second if they actually took Justin Herbert instead of
dude,
Blake was on that. That was Blake's thing.
Oh, I said it was going to be one of the biggest mistakes, and they did it. And
that was
look,
Blake's big
it could still work out. It could still
That'd
work
be
out.
crazy.
But like
That'd be
Herbert
this division would be crazy right now.
Yeah.
and Herbert's got a cannon for
He's-
Waddle
his
and
arm is
Tyreek.
incredible.
Fuck.
That'd be unbelievable. That'd be unbelievable.
Did you guys know Bo Nix is still playing college football?
Yeah.
Yeah,
what
dude,
team is
first
he
round
on?
pick this year. First round pick. He'll be a first round pick this
contender.
year.
That's absurd. He
He's
fucked
going-
me on a game like 6 years ago, dude, and he's still
Dude,
playing.
He's
these transfer
outrageous.
kids.
he's gonna be like
outrageous.
he won't be a top 10 pick, but he'll be like teens 20s this year. He's at Oregon now, and last season he was great. This season he's gonna be good.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Dude,
I'm
it
a
was
Bo Nix.
It was Auburn versus Oregon. Bo Nix
Yeah,
versus
he
Justin
was at-
Herbert when he fucked me in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
Wow.
I remember
That's so
that.
long ago.
God, that was miserable.
That's
That's when I was out
crazy.
on Herbert and Bo Nix because they both just
Yeah.
cucked me. He's only
Yeah.
23. Holy shit!
Wild.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I do think it comes down to Tua. It comes down to obviously their heart and soul of the team is Tyreek and Waddle. I mean, they're two of the best receivers in the league. So I think everything kind of does run through them. And, then you have Mike McDaniel's running game, like to complement that, where when you have those guys opening it up and you have his scheme, it doesn't really seem like you need the best running backs. Like Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson are just awesome every year, which is like, how do they keep doing that? But I guess at the end of the day, I do trust the other teams in this division to play like good defense against the Dolphins. And I'm still skeptical of Tua, despite everything.
Yeah. One thing I want to correct myself on, I said Liam Eichenberg was going to be their starting left guard. It looks like he lost the position battle to another AFC guy, Isaiah Wynn. So he'll be out there, Scott.
There he is.
These guys
He
love
dog
switching
shit.
teams. Yeah. God,
Offensive lines are one of the hardest things because they're never going to stay healthy. Like, it's just crazy having a good offensive line is like, sounds stupid, but like the cheat code to be successful.
My
all we
thing
need
has
is our
always
offensive line to be healthy.
Yeah, my thing has always been like just have an average offensive line. Like maybe you need the top 5, top 10 to like win the Super Bowl, but like if you want to just be a good team, have an average offensive line. The second you start getting like into like the bottom third of the league, it's like your quarterback just has no chance every single
And he's
play.
going to get hurt. Like he doesn't have time and he's going to get hurt. Like you give your quarterback an extra second and a half.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think after finishing this conversation, I've realized that the Patriots conversation was more interesting than the Dolphins. The Dolphins are kind of boring.
But I think it's
because there's one storyline.
Yeah, it's one player. It's one player.
No,
It's a make or break on like, is Tua, not sipping his meals out of a straw, as Scott so nicely put earlier in the pod.
It's so funny to say that to Dolphins fans. Cocksuckers.
What are we saying if Mac Jones is there? If he's their if he's into his place?
He's probably
say, right?
No, I'd downgrade them.
I don't know.
Personally.
I'd downgrade them.
Mac Jones has never thrown for 6 touchdowns in a game. Like Mac Jones has never like showed me that he can go out and lead. And sure, he didn't have those players, but like I definitely have more. I'm gonna give Tua the nod there. Personally.
I mean, you have Waddle and Tyreek versus Kendrick Bourne.
Right? No, yeah, that's fair.
Juju Smith-Schuster. He didn't even have
Nikhil
Juju
Harry. Nikhil Harry.
All right, we're done with this conversation.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the bells of the ball, the guys that are getting their dicks sucked so much this year. I can't wait to have this conversation. The New York Jets finish off here. Teddy, is there a place you want to start with this? Because we talk about the Jets every week, but
if you don't have anything, I would like to set
go
the
right
stage
ahead.
a little.
Do it.
Because I guess like this has been a really interesting offseason because like you just said, I mean, and like everyone knows, like the Jets have been getting all the attention. There's all this hype around them. And for me personally, I have years of being beaten down and I can't tell you how many off seasons I've had real true expectations for the Jets. And then they go in and just completely blow it year after year. I do definitely think this year's different with Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not counting out the Patriots to at least, be frisky. And then I still think the Dolphins can do something and could potentially be, just as good or better than the Jets record-wise if it breaks that way. And then I think the Bills are still, you have to give them that respect, the team to beat. With that said, it is very hard for me to look at how well our defense played last year. And truly, I do believe that the Jets defense with Sauce Gardner and the D line that we put together is, top 3 and not 2 or 3. When I look at last year's games against the division for the Jets, we let up over 20 points once, and it was, or maybe, it might have only ever been 20 points. I did have it up, but I don't at the moment. But our defense was really, I think we let up 22 to New England, and that was the most that was scored against the Jets in any divisional game.
And Matt Patricia, buddy. How do you
I
feel about that?
expect this Jets defense to not take any steps back, to be, that team defensively. And I expect the offense to at least be better than what they were last year. And you look like the Bills scored 20 and 17 against the Jets. The Patriots scored 22 and 10 against the Jets. The Dolphins, without Tua, to be fair, in both games, scored 17 and 11 against the Jets. So despite my respect, and I don't want to get too hyped too quickly with the Jets, I don't really I don't look at the Bills offense and say I'm worried that they're going to hang up a 40 burger on the Jets. I don't look at the Dolphins like that, because I don't really think teams are going to do that to this Jets defense. And that kind of does put me in the headspace of it really does, to me, feel like this Jets team is the team to beat. Obviously I don't want to take anything from the Bills, but it's hard for me to not have that excitement when I look at how we were able to perform last year with a bad offense, and I expect that to improve. So I don't really know where to go from there, but that's kind of my overall thoughts is I don't want to jump the gun, and we talk about this Jets team every week, but it's I truly do have a lot of belief in them. So I would like to hear where both of you guys stand, and kind of from an outsider's perspective, do you kind of see this as hey, they'll probably be okay, but more wild card, more right on the playoff bubble? Are you scared that they're going to kind of really take this division? We can start with Scott because he's bigger on my screen here, but what has your thought of the Jets been this offseason? Where do you see them fitting in with your Patriots and the Dolphins and Bills, all that good stuff?
Yeah, it's really hard just because you look at that last game. I'm assuming you watched that Patriots-Jets game that ended on that Marcus Jones punt return for a touchdown. That's I wanted to claw my eyes out. Just terrible, terrible football. And now I'm sitting here okay, how do the Patriots get better? Well, we got Bill O'Brien. Sick. How do the Jets get better? Oh, they got Aaron Rodgers. You look at that, and it's you play that game again, everything's staying the same, and you just swap out Aaron Rodgers. It's not even a contest. And I'll just sound like a broken record. It's all I have to go on is what's happened in the past. Variables have changed throughout the last 10 years. Or what year was it the last time the Jets beat the Pats?
2015. 8 years.
Almost a decade of not beating the Patriots, which is absolutely banana land. And it's it's got to come to an end eventually. And it's is it going to happen this year? Most likely. Do I still have that glimmer of hope that it's the Jets are the Jets? It's like the Mets. The saying is, it's as Metsy as it gets you. No matter what, you get Steve Cohen and you get the 2 top, Verlander and Scherzer, and you have to tank and sell before the trade deadline. Of course it happens to the Mets. And the Jets are just in the same territory. You look at Yankees, Giants fans, you look at Jets, Mets fans, just the sewer rats, the disgusting losers fans of the city. Just
where I stand. He's not wrong, dude. And this is funny because Scott and I had the same conversation. Scott and I had the same conversation last week, just sitting down. I was all right, I know we joke a lot, but what are your thoughts on the Jets? And it's look, man, until it's kind of like what you're saying with Bill Belichick. It's until they do it, I'd still just I'm still going to put it out there that they're the Jets and they'll find a way to fuck it up. This is the same thing we talked about last week where it's and we've talked about this a lot, Teddy. There is that scary thought, that very, very scary thought in the back of your head, because they're getting a lot of love. I know they get some hate and they get shit on a little bit. They're getting a lot of love now. And so there is that thought in the back of your head that's what if we are just really setting expectations too high here and something goes wrong? And we'll talk about, when we keep this conversation going, what could possibly go wrong. I didn't want to stop Mike because I want to hear his thoughts as well too. But I do believe that there is, like you were saying, Scott, there is that thought in the back of your head that's like, could just be the goddamn Jets. It's like what that KFC segment every week, like the
Yeah.
goddamn Jets.
But I do have one more thing. Like as much as like that whole rant I went on, realistically, like if I was a Jets fan, I'd be fucking pumped. Like I understand the hype. Like to sit here and say, well, they're the Jets, they're gonna stink. Like it would be stupid to say that because they have Aaron Rodgers, who is a phenomenal quarterback. The throws Aaron Rodgers make, that pure arm talent. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
Mahomes and Herbert and him, like he's got to be top 5 in terms of just pure arm talent alone. So it is nerve wracking in terms of, well, fuck. Like, I mean, how many times have you seen Aaron Rodgers roll left, turn around and throw it 60 yards down the sideline, hit someone in the end zone? Like, it's incredible. He's so good. So I am nervous, but I'm also not nervous. That's
Yeah,
my final
just to
statement. Put that on a quote board.
Before we jump to Mike, I that is like what frustrates me the most, and I'm sure other Jets fans, is like to hear people say like, oh, it's just the same old Jets. It's one of those things where it's like, this year is most certainly different. It's never been like this, so it's kind of unfair to say that. But with that being said, you've been able to say that basically every year, you know, take out 2011 or 2010 and 2009, and you've been able to be right with that take, you know. So it's one of those things where like, I really do believe that that won't be the case, but obviously the fear is still there until it goes and happens. Mike, where do you fit in on all that? Like, is it similar?
I'm gonna be way more optimistic on this. They are definitely Super Bowl contenders. I mean, any team that you put Aaron Rodgers on, I think they're Super Bowl. It's hard not. I mean, it's hard not to. I don't see how you could sit here and say not. You know, he's found ways to get worse teams to the playoffs, let alone, you know, to the Super Bowl. So I think they're there. I just think the biggest question is, you know, he's 38 years old, and he questioned if he even wanted to be playing football still. And your offensive line isn't great. You know, it's okay when it's behind, you know, Josh Allen behind there, you can get out of there. But did Brady kind of like set the bar too high for these older quarterbacks? I mean, we've seen Brady, we've seen Manning. Manning couldn't throw the ball 20 yards at the end of it. Yeah.
Chill.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fair.
That'd be my biggest concern. Is like, you know, we're just assuming that you're getting Aaron Rodgers back. He didn't really have a great year last year either. And everyone blames the thumb, which, you know, that's a fair point. You throw the ball with your thumb.
Right.
But I think that's my biggest question. They're definitely Super Bowl contenders. It's just, we got to see what's going to play out, because, you know, you could be the first year that Brady was on the Bucs, or it could be the second year. And those are much different outcomes.
Peyton Manning went 13 for 23 in that Super Bowl.
That's
to push back on that a little.
That's
with these other
perfectly
old guys,
fine.
you do see the decline in talent. You
50%.
see the arm throw, you know, which I don't think is happening with Aaron Rodgers yet, at least. But I do definitely think, as a Bills fan, you will understand what I'm about to say, in that like the NFL is so results oriented, you know, and I think sometimes to a fault. Like, I think you can watch, you know, take the example of the Bills Cardinals game, you know, 2 years ago, where the Cardinals win on a Hail Mary at the end of the game. You know, like if that doesn't happen, then every narrative that week is going to be, oh, the Bills did this, and this right to get the win, you know, to get out with a W. And then that one play happens and it changes the narrative of, okay, here are all the things that the Bills did poorly, that, you know, this is why they lost the game. And I think, like, you talk about playoffs, and, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm hedging here, because at the end of the day, winning is what matters in the league. But it's also any given Sunday. Like, the Bills played the Bengals and kind of got blown out. And if they played the Bengals again, they might win, you know? So just because the Jets are Super Bowl contenders, obviously it does not mean that they are going to get there and to actually win it and get it done. But
sound like a hedge to me.
No, I just mean in general for any Super Bowl contender, really. But it does, you know, I'm settled to hear that you guys are at least somewhat optimistic about this Jets team, and you're not fully like they're just going to stink. But yeah, I think
the offensive line and the way he moves is my big. I mean, that's the biggest thing that would take me from saying I'm more scared of the Dolphins to
Yeah.
those two guys. I feel more comfortable right now believing in Aaron Rodgers than I do Tua. But the second he starts, if that offensive line breaks down and he's just diving down back there, just checking it down, the Dolphins look a lot more scarier.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy when the Patriots just somehow come out like in the first wild card or second wild card.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is, and this is a big conversation, Teddy, that we haven't gotten to discuss as well, too. But there is, compared to 2 weeks ago, a lot more comfort with the offensive line. Now we are judging that off of just guys being available in preseason games, but it does seem to be heading in the right direction. But if you were to pick apart, like, what could potentially go wrong here for the Jets that would hurt, you would pick the offensive line and being able to support an older quarterback. And then the other one would be just like head coaching decisions. There are times where Robert Saleh has made, dumb decisions as a coach. And so you can worry about those few things. But outside of that,
Your offensive coordinator, though, he makes really good decisions, doesn't he?
Dude, as much of a fan as I am of like certain players in here, I think I might be the biggest Nathaniel Hackett fan out there. I really might. I talked about this.
You're putting that January. On the podcast?
Dude, I've been putting on the podcast for
This is his boy.
At least he knows where to call the timeout.
Blake Bortles to an AFC title game. He goes to Green Bay, and him and Aaron Rodgers rip off 2 MVP seasons when Aaron Rodgers was supposedly on his decline the year before. The only reason he didn't work out in Denver is because of that rat fuck Russell Wilson, and now he's back with his boys, ready to win a title. I am the biggest Nathaniel Hackett fan in the world. I gotta try and make that.
We did.
Thing.
I asked Mike and Scott before we started if they had been watching Hard Knocks, and they both said no. And I know I've said this a few weeks ago, but really, like, once you start to get a feel for who Nathaniel Hackett is and his personality, like, it does not surprise me at all that he wasn't a good head coach. And I think it's
him and Russ. They're the polar opposite people. So that's why I think it didn't work out.
I think that, and I think
Russ is a weirdo.
It's easier to get buy-in as like a weird dude who's like grabbing dudes' butts and like poking people and whatever. Like, it's easier to get buy-in if you're not the head coach. Like, if one player is like, "Oh, that's weird,"
loser,
like, I don't
know
know.
But also, how fucking weird is it to be the guy that is on the plane over to London doing fucking his pregame routine on the plane?
Like, I'm not.
We don't talk enough about how Russell Wilson is a freak
at all.
He's a freak, dude. What's his whole saying?
Danger Russ. Like, what are we doing? Like, they're both dude. They can both be weird, but I'd rather be the funny weird than the cringy weird. Like, fuck Russell Wilson, dude. He's tampered my boys.
Wait. Mr. Unlimited.
Yeah, like, what are we doing?
That sounded really like him.
Yeah, that was good. Clip that. Yo, producers, clip that.
Clip that, and then the chat of this podcast has to be the boys talk about DeMar Hamlin
and Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah,
a 2-hour discussion with DeMar Hamlin and Nathaniel Hackett.
When we're talking about things that could go wrong for the Jets, like, and Mike brings up like the offensive line could not be good, the quarterback could take a step back from what he's been. I do think like me and Blake have been sitting here talking about Nathaniel Hackett for months, right? And we both are at this point where we believe in him, and we kind of throw out last year and look to the 2 years with the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, and we say that's the guy I want to believe we're getting. But when you do take that step back and you look at like, okay, what are the overall narratives of this team? I do think that like Nathaniel Hackett being a successful offensive coordinator is very important and is going to be a key piece in all of this. And I think that goes hand in hand with like, I don't know this for sure, but I assume Matt LaFleur called the plays in Green Bay, correct? So like those years.
What happened was Matt LaFleur was in control in between the 20s, and then I think Nathaniel Hackett and Rodgers were basically doing everthing red zone to end zone.
And by red zone, you mean gold zone. My
gold zone. That's right. That's right. Gold zone.
But so that's a positive. That's awesome for sure. I was just gonna say, like, I think maybe that's something to worry about is, the play calling with him, because I do think like you have him and Rodgers. They have a connection. He's going to trust Rodgers. They're going to kind of run the right plays at least. But I think it will come down to like how it goes into games. What do you got?
He's Rodgers' bitch.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I do. I mean, yes, if you want to defend that, Blake, but I think that's fair. I think that Rodgers is more so telling them what to do.
I mean, you look at the Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels. Like, how many times was Tom Brady just freaking out on him on the sideline?
Yeah, but I think that's a plus. You look at the Bucks. The Bucks were better when they did what Brady
when they switched.
wanted.
Thank you.
No,
yes.
I'm on Rodgers' side on this. Like, when you have, like, he knows more than most OCs. Rodgers, Brady.
He's a 20-year vet.
Yeah.
He knows what you're doing before you.
Like, he's been playing football longer than Robert Saleh has been coaching. You know, like
yeah.
Why would you not just give him the keys?
Yeah.
Let him throw everything to Garrett Wilson.
He's going to. He's going
so
to.
Good.
You saw it on that preseason
excited.
drive. It is literally just going to be like bubble screen, slant. Like, he's just going to. It's going to be the Devontae Adams.
Wait.
Those 2 seasons that the Rodgers MVP years with Devontae Adams, they are doing that with Garrett Wilson. That's
you see Rodgers
what the offense is.
You see Adams go across the motion. And it's like, oh, he's going to hit him on that out route right there. Everyone in the world knows what he's doing, and they still just can't. And it's just auto. It's truly incredible. Like,
it's so awesome you brought up that play specifically, because a few weeks ago we were talking about it and we brought up that play specifically. That is the iconic, like, you're on the 2-yard line. Every single person in the world knows you're going to throw it to Devontae Adams, and somehow he still gets open and you score a touchdown. Like,
it's like he gets 6 touchdowns a year just by doing that.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Anything else with the Jets? We talk about the Jets so much.
I just wanted to, I guess, talk about them in comparison to these other teams.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I really think all these teams' defenses are top tier, and it's just going to come down to, like, I mean, who can score more points, right? That's what it's all about in the NFL.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's a dogfight.
All right. So we also talked about doing some record predictions / AFC East rankings, or, how the seedings, I guess. We can also, if anybody has a future on any of these teams or is something, and not Scott's Super Bowl one. We don't need to talk that, but, like, I guess we can.
Value.
I guess we can. That is great value there.
It's like 6,000 or 60,000, something stupid.
Yeah. So maybe just be like, standings, playoffs, yes or no, records if you have them. If anybody wants to start off, just, sound the alarm and get going.
I'll start off because mine's kind of bullshit. I didn't look at records. I didn't look at records until about 10 minutes before we started. And I have the Pats going 12-5 off the first glance. I have them beating Philly, then the Dolphins, then the Jets, then Dallas, then New Orleans, then Las Vegas. They're starting out 6-0. That's just gonna happen. Then they'll lose to the Bills, lose to Miami. I don't have to keep going. But
what did you have them with the Jets? Did you split with the Jets, or did you go?
Yeah, they lost. The Pats lost a crucial Week 18 game for playoff seeding.
Oh no!
So they're So
let's go Jets.
That's a bummer. The Bills swept the Pats, which is going to be annoying. But
3 years in a row now. By the way, if that happens,
I know it's close to 8 almost. Yeah,
damn.
We're 5 years away
from these Jets.
But I had them losing. The 5 losses are the Jets, the Bills twice, the Dolphins, and Kansas City. Other than that, they're going to win out. The Bills, I just looked at their schedule. There's no reason they don't start 8-0. Like, if they don't, then maybe 7-1 at the worst. Maybe they'll lose to the Jets or the Finns. Other than that, the Bills don't have a loss in the first 8 weeks. And that's as far as I got into looking at other team schedules. So
nice.
So let's just throw that out.
That's why I went first.
The Patriots aren't going to win 12 games.
Yeah. No way. Mike, what do you got? I know you did records, you did schedule. How are you going to top that? Yeah.
I mean, I got it pretty tight. So I got the Bills winning the division with 12-5, 5-1 in division, making the offs. Jets coming in second, 11-6, 4-2 in division, making the offs. Fins 11-6, but they lose on a tiebreaker to the Jets.
Damn.
3-3 in division, missing the playoffs. And then the Pats down there at 8-9, also missing the playoffs. 1-5 in the division. They steal one.
Board
They steal one against the Fins. And that's the tiebreaker right there.
You're going to be regretting it when Bill Belichick hears this.
Yeah.
This is bulletin board material. We know he listens to this.
He's gonna be
man.
clipping that for sure.
At the very least, Steve Belichick's making weird mouth things when he's listening to it.
That's good.
Theodore, what'd you come up with?
Yeah,
real quick, Mike. I there's a lot in there that I am very we had a few actually that we are dead on agreement with. So Teddy, you go, and then I'll finish up here.
Yep. I'm similar to Mike, except, I gave the nod to the Jets, less of a nod to the Bills. I really am confident in this Jets team, and you said to throw in any bets. To me, like the over 9.5 win total for the Jets was set like right when the Rodgers deal happened. And like, I think it was kind of like a mental hedge for everyone to kind of be like, well, maybe let's not buy in too hard to the Jets. But like if the Bills win total was 9.5, who's not taking that? Like, I struggled to see a world where this Jets team doesn't get 10, 11, 12 wins. So I have the Jets first, 12-5, Bills right there at 11-6. I have the Dolphins at 8-9. I don't know. I'm a Dolphins hater. I just think they're going to stink. I think last year the floor will fall under them, but we'll see. I could eat dirt there. And then I got the Pats at 7-10. I just really struggled to see that many wins coming for them with the division they're in. Hopefully the Jets can sweep them to get this ball rolling in the other way when it comes to records. But I just don't really have a ton of faith in them. So that's where I land, and I hammer Jets over 9.5 wins. I think that's a great bet.
Yeah. I've got a lot with. So I can't stop laughing at Scott's background now. You guys need to get on this is good. I hope this does.
You got
wonders.
any personal information on there, brother? Be careful, man.
I hope that this does wonders for our YouTube page here, because that would be fantastic.
Shameless plug right here.
Yeah, we got to get people to the YouTube. Get to the YouTube.
So Teddy, Mike, and I are all in agreement on the playoff teams. Likewise with Teddy, I have the Jets winning the division at 12-5. All right,
get off the YouTube. No, I'm just kidding.
I have the Jets winning the division at 12-5. I got the Bills at 11-6. Both went 4-2 in the division. If you guys haven't ever played around with playoffpredictors.com, it's so fun because you can actually just be like, yeah, I'm gonna pick through everybody's schedule. It takes a little bit of time, but it gives you
6
fun
hours
stuff.
of my day.
Oh, it's great. I think I might have texted you guys when I did it a few weeks ago, but yeah. So Jets 12-5, they got him a 2 seed. Bills 11-6 was somehow a 7 seed, but yeah, that makes sense. The AFC, yeah, there were 2 11-6 seeds that didn't make the playoffs in the way that this all went out. And then I have the Dolphins and the Patriots both at 8-9. So Teddy, I'm with you. I think if I'm just basing it off of, and I'm assuming that we get 75% of a season out of Teron Armstead and Tua, that to me is a below 500 team because that's 2 of their most important players there. So both of those teams missing the playoffs. Likewise with you, Mike, I had the Patriots 1-5 in the division. Dolphins I had splitting 3-3. I'm gonna we're gonna do a whole seasons pod next week, Teddy, but I'm sipping on the Kool-Aid. I made when I filled this out, you could go through the playoffs as well too. I think the Jets are winning the Super Bowl this year. I am following the pattern of Brady going to Tampa for a better situation and an offense that better fit him. And then the Rams did it with Matthew Stafford. And I believe Aaron Rodgers is more talented than Matthew Stafford. He'll have about the same talent of an offensive line. Hopefully the play calling is just more fit into what he wants, because I'd still say that Sean McVay is better. And the defense, this is my last note, is that Teddy, the defense, I don't even believe I think it's crazier to say that the defense would take a step back more so than take a step forward, because the biggest thing to me that they were lacking last year was an edge presence and the emergence of these young guys on the outside, and hopefully Lawson, second year back from a major injury. I think the defense is going to be better than it was last season. Obviously you can't count on guys, everybody playing at the same level, but if you're getting an upgraded edge, I think that was the one glaring hole for them last year. So I'm all aboard. I'm sipping the Kool-Aid. I think
that got me pumped up. Let's fucking go.
I got a Jets 49ers Super Bowl there. So got some fun stuff.
Fuck the 49ers, dude. Everyone always sucks their dick.
I just love the storyline too, because he was supposed to be drafted by the 49ers. He was the California kid, and they passed on him for Alex Smith, and the rest is history. So I'm a big love my storylines always. Yes, Mr. Graham over there.
One more thing, very uncharacteristic like of the Patriots, rookie kicker and rookie punter this year. Could be what to watch for.
Wow,
Damn.
that is probably going to change that 12-5 now seems a lot more realistic.
Yeah, maybe I should switch mine.
And actually, I gotta look. The thing about Bill Belichick is he always does a lefty punter because the returners aren't used to the lefty punter spin.
Love that.
I don't know. I'm not gonna do it now.
He's always
That's
one step
something
ahead, just like you said. Always one step ahead.
It's gonna be a running league this year. The running league. That was probably the take of the episode. Was that it's gonna be it's gonna shift.
No. I'm not saying this year. In like 5 years.
I thought it was. I had that take 2 years ago when they brought in Cam. I was like, double tight end set with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, Cam Newton at quarterback.
Oh, dude.
He's going running league, and
I'm so glad.
It was the
so
offensive
glad I don't
explosion.
have anything recorded about the Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry double tight ends because
I
wouldn't be able to say anything ever again.
There's a quick hits episode out there where I was like, I like what the Patriots are doing. There's definitely something out there.
They put like 80 million of those two dudes per year.
And Scott, I said the same thing. I was like, he's always just one step ahead. Like I had that same conversation in 2020. So yeah.
You can't hit them all.
Nope. No, you can't.
No.
Anything else, boys? This is fun. This is always going to be
it.
our longest pod that we ever do, but hopefully we can.
We said last year that we do a recap.
We got to try and get a second one in there. I don't know why we didn't.
Because we were all going to do it after the Super Bowl when we were all in Nashville, but then we all
that's fucked up.
Oh wait, no, but Scott, you were there. Mike, I think you made it.
Mike,
you were there too.
Yeah.
That guy's
it would have been.
sick.
Imagine how weird it would have been if just Ted was zoomed in and like we were all together.
That would have been kind of weird.
That'd be kind of sick, actually.
Yeah.
I'm looking at our record predictions from last year because when you said recap, I thought you meant like, oh, we should recap last year.
How did we do?
I'm not sure really, but you had the Bills at 14-3
pretty easily.
You'd actually nailed it, Mike. Almost. You had the Bills at 14-3. They went 13-3. Didn't have a 17th game. You had the Finns at 9-8. That's where they ended. You had the Pats at 7-10. I think they ended 8-9, and then Jets 6-11. They ended 7-11.
Damn, you crushed that.
Yeah, you crushed that, Mike. Great work.
The fact that I didn't have anything game canceled is hilarious.
Yeah, you idiot.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that'll wrap
awesome.
things up. Thank you, boys, as always.
Yeah, thanks,
Press for
fellas.
tomorrow.
Ted will be back for tomorrow.
Tomorrow strong.
We'll be back next week getting ready for the regular season. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Go Pats.
Go Jets.
They did this last year too. We had a huge laugh about it. I knew they were going to jump off. They always do it.